Hey guys, Tom here.
And Declan.
And welcome back to Throwing Wrenches Garage. We're seated today.
Yeah, no work.
Yeah, we're kicking back. And we're taking the layup.
But the questions that we answer, people will still ask because they don't watch these videos.
Yeah, that's kind of partially true.
It's like, well, what are you doing after? Like, why didn't you watch the video?
I feel like we do answer sometimes we answer the same questions over and over. But that's all good. So we actually I did a lot this past weekend. Did a ton actually this past weekend. I don't know, but you guys can't tell. Maybe I'll take a little tour later. But I cleaned the living snot out of the garage. Can you tell that it's cleaner?
I guess. Now that you say it.
Yeah. So got we got the engine off of the engine stand. Cleaned everything up that was sort of like just hanging around from the last several projects that we did and tidied up a bunch. Really trying to get everything sort of ready so we can start off projects in the spring here. But didn't video any of that because, it was basically just me cleaning. So
you don't want cleaning footage?
There's no thrill to that. And Declan wasn't here to help me with that because where were you on Saturday?
WPI.
Yeah. Declan was in his school's robotics team.
Oh, no. Now they're going to make fun of me.
And so he was at a competition at WPI this weekend. So, which is like an all-day thing. It's insane.
Yeah, it was like from was it 8 to 9 or so?
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was out of pocket for most of the day. So I was on my own. So we didn't have a lot of work on the cars. I got essential stuff done, but we didn't have a lot of work on the cars done. So we thought we would sort of sit up here and try to take stock of where we've been this winter and where we're headed, and maybe answer some questions that we've heard come up. So we'll take a little bit of time to do that, and maybe parcel in a little bit of footage in here to sort of show you off. I don't want to overpromise that one. That depends on how lazy I am with the editing. So we're going to call this one a spring check-in because spring has sprung here. We've officially had a few.
And it's snowing next week.
60-degree days. We've had there's buds on trees already.
Flowers are coming.
We've got some flowers coming up in the front yard. So stuff is happening. The snow is gone. And even though they sort of still forecast snow in the next week or so, in New England anyway, we're getting to that point in the year where when it does snow, it goes away fast. So it's not the place where we're really worried about it. So warm weather's coming, and that means it's car season. And so, like, what have we done lately? And I actually started thinking about it to try to make notes for this, and I was kind of impressed with how much we did over the winter.
I couldn't name anything.
That's not really surprising to me. But when I tell this stuff, you're gonna think about it. And you're like, oh right, yeah, we did that.
I can remember the things that we did like last week. But
yeah, and I think some of the stuff that I'm gonna say, you're gonna be like, wait, that was this winter. So all of the stuff that we did this winter, I'm gonna completely attribute to the ability of me being able to take a week off of work and completely insulate this garage. Because without being able to do that, there is no shot that we would have been able to do.
No, way too cold.
Any of the stuff in here. And it was, even still with all the insulation and the heaters and everything, there were still several weeks down here where like the heaters weren't going to keep up. It was still way too cold. But we got a lot of stuff done. So we took a big swing with the Chevelle in the winter. I think we did that in December, didn't we? Or
do what?
November. It was in the throes of winter. I don't know. We're gonna have to go back and check the footage. Maybe I'll put a date up here.
I don't know what you're asking about.
We took the engine out of the Chevelle.
I don't know when we did that.
It was definitely cold when we did that, but I think it was still technically in November. And that was kind of a big risk on my end, taking that out of there, because I knew taking the engine out of the Chevelle meant, I got to commit. We didn't do that until we had the actual rebuilt engine here, so I was smart enough to do that, but it definitely signed us up for a bunch of work. So that was like kind of a big swing and kind of made me nervous. But it was cool getting the blueprint here and sort of walking through that with you guys. I'm pretty stoked about that, and pretty stoked about the fact that it dynoed for more horsepower than they said it was supposed to. So I'm pretty happy about where that's sitting, and going to be psyched when it goes in here. The IROC, we made more progress, Declan, than I think you're probably thinking.
Probably.
So we replaced brakes, right? Replaced brake lines.
Yeah.
Replaced struts. Replaced shocks. The 305, the old engine was already out of it. But we did go ahead and run the check on that, right? So we did take measurements on that to make sure that it was still sort of in spec, so that block is, at least as far as we know, salvageable. And we did a refresh on the 350 for it, right? So but that was a lot. If you think about what we did to that 350 that we pulled out of the Chevelle, we did a compression test. Then we did a leak down test. It passed both, if you guys remember. So we
probably done.
We lucked out in both places there. We stripped and painted that engine, right, including the intake. We stripped and painted the valve covers. We replaced the timing chain. We inspected the lifters, right, to make sure that they weren't worn.
I only see visual things. So they're like small.
We replaced all the valve seals. We replaced the rear main seal. We replaced the oil pump with a new high flow oil pump or high pressure oil pump. We replaced a bunch of gaskets and we replaced the oil pan. And there's still a couple of pieces, like the water pump is still paint's dry, but I repainted that. So there's still more pieces that need to be done to that, but we got a lot done there.
Yeah.
And we put the carpet in.
Yeah, the carpet was like a big thing.
Yeah, and we redid the console, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, isn't like massive, but it's one more piece done, right? So, and the thing that I find impressive about this is all stuff that we did like basically in the 3 or 4 months that we were sort of trapped in here in the winter.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
And like every previous year of my car life, I have not gotten anywhere near that much stuff done over the winter because we haven't been able to. So I'm pretty happy with where that went. The Chevelle, the big swing with the Chevelle and the progress we did here was, I mean, taking that engine out was kind of a risk. So yes, I made out by taking that engine out because even though I'm, giving that engine to Declan, I make up because I get the cool new blueprint engine.
Yeah.
But there is a pretty big risk in that on my end because, like, there's already been a few days where I would have really liked to have driven this car this season already, but can't.
I get a really powerful engine now.
But it did allow us to do some stuff, right? So we cleaned up the engine bay in this one, painted that up, and did the wiring harness, which was a bear and probably more off-camera work than most people would have liked to have seen. Because there was a lot of prep work in that and sort of doing the schematics. I know somebody said they wanted to see a behind the scenes on that. And trust me, you don't. It was a lot of me calling myself stupid and redrawing things and getting myself confused.
Maybe that's why they want to look behind the scenes.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, it would be more fun.
I want to see you making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my secret account.
So that's what the major stuff that we got accomplished, which to me is no small stuff. I think we got a lot done. Like in a fantasy world,
If you say so.
in a fantasy world, we'd have the Chevelle running by now, but I didn't really think we would have it running.
In a fantasy world, you realize I don't care about your car.
Well, yours is next. The other big breakthrough that we got through this winter is Declan got his learner's permit, which is pretty cool.
I mean, it's fine. I'm sure these people were like, Mom, I drove when I was 11. I don't see the problem.
Yeah, there were a couple of comments about like, wait, he hasn't driven yet. He's 16. He hasn't driven yet.
It's illegal.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of places in the country where if you've got a farm or if you've got land, there's plenty of opportunities to actually drive vehicles and learn how to drive like on private land. We just don't have that. So wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for that. But yeah, he's been driving for like a month now.
Yeah.
And getting good. So yeah, that's now in Mass you can't even apply to take your driver's test unless you've had your permit for 6 months. And that's assuming that you have all your driving hours and everything. So I think August is our earliest hope.
August 5th? Oh, no, is it? No, it's after I have my permit, so like 17th.
So like a week after that or something like that, yeah. So we're still crossing our fingers and hoping that he's taken the little red IROC to school on the first day of school in September, but we'll see. Or maybe it's August. I'm not sure.
It's August, like 29th.
Yeah. So we're still hoping for that, but we'll see.
Just say September 1st. It's just easier.
So that was basically the winter. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
You feel better about it if the car was driving, though, yeah?
Well, yeah, but that probably wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, it wasn't really in the cards. Unfortunately, it wasn't really likely to happen. But that brings us up to what's next. So this is where Declan's sad face comes in, because what's next is the Chevelle. But the reason that the Chevelle is next is because the Chevelle's so freaking close. So the Blueprint engine is literally sitting like 15 feet away on the other side of the door in the basement.
They were kissing each other earlier before they started.
Most of us gently caressing it before we came in here. It's got spark plugs in it. Like it's ready to go. So there's only a handful of things that need to be done to that, and it's like things like putting on the flex plate and then it's mating it up with the transmission. It's literally just a couple of things before that's ready to get plugged in here. So we are, I think, quite literally like maybe 1 week away. I don't think I'm going to get to do it this weekend, but I think the weekend after. So the first weekend in April probably is when I'm planning to do that. So engine in the Chevelle, and then getting everything dialed in to get it running. Because I would really, really love to get that car running and driving within the next couple of weeks so I can start taking that out and enjoying it. Because I think there's going to be a bunch of stuff to sort of gremlins to work out of that too. Because on top of me redoing the wiring harness, I also bought a new Dakota Digital dash to put inside of it. And so that's got wiring associated with it. So that's a lot of wiring to change at once. I'm probably digging my own hole there.
Probably.
Yep.
It's like you were digging a hole and then made a branch off of the hole.
Yeah.
That went deeper.
Yeah. It's probably not smart.
You didn't have to.
It's probably not smart. It's a lot of variables at once, but we'll see. So I will do some video work on the Dakota Digital Dash. I think that's actually the thing that I'm going to do next weekend, is shoot some of that and show you guys that. And then it'll be install of the engine. So hopefully that one goes well, and that'll be a good video, because I think this one's going to lay out the tires for once that's in there. But that should all be pretty quick. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it should be quick, like a matter of weeks, not months. And then the next thing is the IROC. So, like, part of why I really want to get the Chevelle up and running is so that I can stop worrying about the Chevelle and start focusing on the IROC.
So we're hoping to have it running by 2026.
Smart ass. No, my goal is actually to have his car running and driving, hopefully in early June, if not sooner. So there's some stuff that I have to wait until like the May timeframe to purchase, because there's still some things we got to buy for his car that are sort of pricey. So
like a digital dash.
No, you don't need a digital dash, but we do need.
Does anyone?
You do need headers and exhaust. So we're going to put headers and exhaust in your car, and that's going to be a pricey scenario. We've got to figure out a fuel pump situation for you, because when we take the computer out that controlled his old engine, that computer actually runs the fuel pump. That's the electric fuel pump that's in the tank. So I think we're going to run probably a mechanical fuel pump in this, but we got to figure out how to sort of deadhead the electric fuel pump that's in there and figure that out. So I got some homework to do to figure that one out, but shouldn't be too bad. And then we got to put a new headliner in it, so we got to order a headliner and put that in there. So and the other piece of your carpet. Right. So there's a few more things that we need to purchase and get in there. But then otherwise, it's piecing the rest of the stuff back together. So I think we have to get, on the rest of your stuff in your engine, we have to put the distributor in. We have to clean up your transmission, and we have to mate them together. Put the flex plate on, starter on.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah. Basically, the final assembly on your engine is really what we have to worry about. Okay. And I think most of the rest of the stuff I've got. So we're getting closer on that than I think you think. And we'll probably be getting ready to start putting that in late May, early June.
Okay.
The only trick with his car is that there's so much stuff that's going to change because we're taking out all the electrics for the TPI and that 305. That I think it's going to take me a little bit longer to get this up and running. I expect to find far more things where we get it running, but then there's something weird, right? And we have to sort of chase down a gremlin. I think there's going to be a bunch of that stuff that we have to run into with this, so you should just be prepared for that. I expect it.
Good thing we're doing it after.
But then once we get it running and driving so that he can continue his driving education on it, then we got to work on the body. And I think what we've been talking about is sanding all the peeling clear coat off of it, so that we get it all just sanded down to the red paint or whatever is left of the red paint. And then probably hitting it with shine juice, just the wipe on oil protectant, because we do have aspirations to paint it at some point with Uncle Alex. So I don't want to put an actual clear coat on there that we have to sand off at some point. So I think that's probably what we'll do.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. So that's probably what, from now until end of June, I guess, is probably what we're talking about there.
Okay.
Feels right. All right, so that's the other stuff that we had questions about was what goes on behind the scenes, which I thought was kind of a funny question. I think part of it was asking what goes on behind the scenes, when I'm doing research for figuring out the wiring. But we've also had some other people sort of ask questions about how we do the channel too. So I figured we'd open the curtain on that, I guess, a little bit for anybody who cares.
We are related to Mr. Beast.
Yeah. Not even a chance.
It's out.
So you guys know that Declan and I run the channel. We do this on our onesies. And in truth, I do most of it. It was my idea, so I don't want to say that to make it sound like Declan doesn't help me. Really, I kind of dragged Declan into this, so I'm lucky that he even does any of this with me. When we shoot this and sort of the mechanics of what we do, it's not simple or easy, which is why a lot of times Declan isn't here with me. So I do have a day job, so I work in marketing. And Declan's in high school, and he's part of an esports team at high school. He's part of the robotics team at high school. And depending upon the season, he sometimes runs cross country, sometimes runs track. So his social calendar is not empty. He's got stuff going on.
We're going to Vermont this week.
He's out this whole weekend. So anything that I do on the video this weekend is going to be without him, because he's gone Friday all the way through Sunday. So I do not have that option. So normally what we try to do is to shoot on Saturdays or Sundays. It depends on what we have going on. Like sometimes we've got family stuff going on. Sometimes we've got other obligations, like around the house. Sometimes I got to mow the lawn. Sometimes, we got to go grocery shopping or do whatever other thing is going on that sort of interrupts my flow. But generally speaking, if we're going to dig in, it usually takes us something like 4 or 5 hours to shoot. It might not necessarily be all the way end to end, but it's somewhere in that range of 4 to 5 hours. We try to do it in one shot, but sometimes it gets stretched into another day. Sometimes that's just with me. Sometimes I drag Declan into it too. It depends on what we have, but
sometimes it's just paint drying and just showing the finished products.
Yeah, that's true. Like sometimes it's just us sort of doing a reveal later on, and it's just like 10 minutes. But other times it's more of a hassle. So one thing is for sure, if we have to come back in and sort of finish off a shoot, it's a pain, and it causes delays. So we really try to do most of our shooting like on one weekend day if we can pull it off. And that's, almost exclusively when we're working on the cars. The rest of the time, if I'm doing work on the cars, it's stuff that, trust me, nobody wants to see. It's really boring. Or it's me cleaning up after working on the cars, because
they want to see the clean.
Yeah, usually when we are like done working down here, it's like a bomb went off, and then we just want to be done and get out of here, and then I have to come back down later on another night and clean up the horror show that I created. That's our shooting schedule. We really can't shoot during the weeknights, partially because of the scheduling, right? Declan's schedule, my schedule, we just don't have much time.
And I'll be even more out of it if we film during the week.
Oh yeah, they would be wrecked.
Really good.
But also the editing takes me a while, so I'm not a pro at editing. I'm pretty much a novice to this, and we're 30-something videos deep into this channel, so I'm getting better at it, but I'm self-taught, so I guarantee you I am very, very far from efficient. I'm sure I'm not doing it the right way.
I'm not sure they quite know what the right way is either.
Yeah, I know there is, there's a way that, professionals do it. I'm sure I'm not doing that. So I'm sure there's a more efficient way to do it, but this is what I got right now. So normally, like Saturday night or Sunday night, whatever night of the day that we shot, I upload footage to the computer, and that usually takes a while. It's like between just uploading the footage and kind of cataloging it and getting it loaded up and sort of setting up the file. It can be a couple of hours pretty easy. It's not like steady. I'm usually doing it while we're watching TV or something, so it's not like me locked in an editing suite or anything, but it takes some time. And then that usually leaves me like unedited and raw with like between 3 and 5 hours worth of footage, with like multiple camera angles and audio from the mics, and it's all just stacked up and it's a mess. And then I've got to pick through all that to get it down to something that's watchable for you guys, and watchable for me. Like half of it is just like, do I want to sit through this and watch it? And that takes a while. That's usually a couple of nights. So if I'm lucky and it's a good week, I can get through the rough cut editing in like 2 nights, like a few hours each night, and then one more night to do some like final edits where I like clean things up and clean up the audio and clean up the visuals and do transitions between scenes and add some background music and stuff like that. And get the thing sort of finished up and wrapped up. So if it's an awesome week, I'm wrapped up like Wednesday night or Thursday, and I can upload it to YouTube so it's like ready to go and show off for you guys at 4 o'clock on Friday. But if it's most weeks, I'm like scrambling Thursday night late, and probably not getting a chance to upload it until like Friday afternoon. sometimes really late Friday afternoon, and there's always problems. Like, it never fails when I've got all kinds of time and I'm uploading it like Wednesday night. The video uploads like that and it's perfect. And then when I try to upload it like on Friday afternoon when I have no time, the bandwidth is not there. It takes forever to load, and then when it loads, it's wrong, and I got to delete it and do it over again. So that's just just kind of the way it goes. But that's why I can't do things during the week, because the whole week is pretty much taken up editing, because I'm not particularly fast at it. And I certainly can't pay anybody to do it. I can't afford to do it for free, so I certainly can't afford to pay anybody to do it. So yeah, that's like the scheduling. And then people have asked, like, how do I know how to do this?
He's old.
Yeah, not untrue. So I guess there's two parts to that answer. I guess the staying in the vein with the video stuff. I know how to do this stuff because my background is in design. I think we talked about this once before in a video. I did go to art school. That's what I went for. I went for industrial design, which is what I did for the first 10 years of my career. So I'm pretty comfortable with design work, pretty comfortable with design software. I'm also like a bit of a shutterbug. I've been doing photography like forever. And so I'm very comfortable with cameras, very comfortable with camera editing software. So the leap into video wasn't that hard, especially since my digital camera does video.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't hard to jump into. And it's not hard to jump to the video editing software because it's in the same Adobe suite that I'm used to using for design and for photo editing. So the language kind of makes sense to me. So from that side, that's where that comes from. I also did like the drawing wrenches, logos, and all that stuff is me. Like I designed all that stuff.
I wanted to.
You
were excited about it.
All the little, pop-ups and stuff like that on screen are all stuff that I designed and made. So that's where I get all that crap from. And then in the car world stuff, that's just because I've always tinkered with stuff. I've always been mechanically inclined. I've always messed around. Ask my mom. She'll tell you that I took apart everything in the house when I was a kid, including the stuff that worked. It didn't work once I tried to put it back together again, but I took it all apart. And then when I was about 12, she finally kicked me out of the house one summer and made me work with my stepfather, who was a mechanic at a local shop. And I got completely hooked on working on cars and sort of been interested in them and working on them since. And then you guys know the story that my dad bought me my first car was a 70 Chevelle when I was 16. And spent a lot of time working on that. And that's when I really kind of heavily fell for classic cars.
Even though that was the car during the... Oh, I guess it wasn't during... No, that was kind of during the time, right?
It was still classic then, yeah. I mean, it was still a 20-something-year-old car when I had it.
I guess.
Yeah. So it would have been like you having this car then. Yeah. So, I mean, some of this stuff I knew, from practice and just general knowledge. But then, to be honest with you, most of the stuff that I learn, I pick up by watching, right? By watching other people do stuff, or by watching YouTube stuff or TV stuff. When you have an inclination to things and an interest in them enough, you don't have to read into the detail. You pick up a lot, and then for whatever stupid reason, you're not afraid to try things, and I'm just not afraid to try. And you screw things up, and you go back, and then you do things right the second time around, hopefully. And as long as you hopefully don't screw things up too bad the first time around, it's not too bad. So, there's no magical answer. I don't have any sort of formal training or anything. It's just I guess
you didn't go to boot camp for it.
No, I've been either like stupid enough or brave enough to try this stuff, and got decent at it. So. I know one of the other questions that we get, and he's going to roll his eyes now, is why does Declan look so bored or so uninterested, or I don't think Declan wants to be here?
Sometimes I don't want to be here. I mean, this is kind of it. I'm tired. I'm tired. I go to sleep at 12 because that's when I'm supposed to go to sleep. And then I have to wake up at 6 to go to school because that's when our school system works. And then I have to go home and then I do more work sometimes, depending on what we're doing. And sometimes I care more about other things because I don't just go to school and sit in a chair. I do work. I have homework. I have classes I have to study for. This isn't my number one priority. It would be nice to have it working, but school will end, and maybe I'll become more interested then when school isn't happening. So I'll have summer free.
Yeah. It's tough during the school year because you do have, like, I think people forget that too, that, you know, he's got plenty of other stuff going on. Mm-hmm. But I think the other thing that I add, and I've mentioned this to people before when they've asked, is that when we do stuff on the car, like if you go back and watch the episode where we painted the interior, the inside of the engine bay in his IROC, or if you go back and look at when we were cleaning the interior from the IROC, like those videos, like there's no yawning or boredom on his face then, because we sort of, like, I was able to sort of say, hey, here's what you're doing today and here's the stuff, and he just took off and did it because he knew what to do. He didn't need any special instruction on there, and he was into it. It's like he's into the car. He's into doing all this stuff. I think the challenge is that when we get into doing stuff that he doesn't know, and we get into engine componentry stuff where he has to really get instructed, that's kind of on me. And because I need to guide him along and I need to teach him that stuff. And the hard part for me is I'm also trying to shoot these videos while I'm doing that.
I'm trying to make it entertaining.
Yeah, it's like I'm probably juggling more than I should be at that point. And sometimes I find myself like halfway through something realizing, oh crap, I should have just made Declan do this. And then I look over and realize that like he's looking at his phone because I have not kept him engaged because I'm just doing stuff. So yeah, I keep saying that's partly on me, and I need to do more stuff to get him involved, but sometimes that's easier said than done.
Wait, so now we know some people aren't going to watch this video. The people that do watch this video, reply to the comments saying, Declan looks so bored, and answer why.
Yeah, we don't...
I've seen that on some...
We're basically not answering those comments anymore, where people are like, he looks bored, or I don't think he's interested. So yeah, we don't go after that stuff anymore and just leave it. We figure we've talked about that enough and we've answered it enough. But he's here. And so there are a couple of things. I wouldn't force Declan to be here.
Yeah, if I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, I mean, so with the absolute honesty, guys, if I really felt like Declan didn't want to be here and didn't have an interest in this would stop. The IROC would stop. Well, I'd probably still keep on going, but it would be for me and not for him. And like he'd go off and he'd have a Toyota Corolla, and like this would be my car, and he'd be off to do his own thing, without any anger in my heart about it. But that's just the way it would be. I'm not going to force him to do this. It doesn't make any sense, right? He needs to want to do it, but I think that's also part of it. Is that we're trying to sort of run this balance where, like, I want us to play with this stuff together, and I want us to be together and work on it together. I don't want it to be a chore. That's part of why we really only do this like one day a week. I don't want to make this the kind of thing where I'm like, TikTok, Declan, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We need to get,
And it's not like we make enough from it to where we'd want to like do it more.
Oh no, we make garbage. We make garbage from this.
Well, at least we make.
Yeah, there's not a lot of money getting made from this, but that's okay. We did not get in this to make money. It's shocking that we make $1, right? It's shocking that we make any money at all. So that's I'm not complaining about that. But it is kind of humorous what the amount is sometimes.
Was it like $3.02 or something?
Yeah, sometimes we get videos that like they'll make like $3 or $4, or sometimes worse. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Well, sometimes it's better.
And sometimes it's better
when I'm in them.
I think our first video is still the video that makes the most money on a regular basis.
It's usually how it goes, introductory videos. I mean, that's the only one with big numbers on it.
So, one of the other questions that we get constantly, and now I kind of refer people to just watch the rest of the videos, but maybe we should make a little short video that we just sort of like sticker or something, but is how come we're not putting the TPI on the 350? Okay. We're going to try to explain this one.
You're gonna try to explain this. I don't know what you're.
Yeah, I've explained it to Declan, but he's not.
Like I probably could. I'll probably.
I think he gets it intellectually, but
Yeah.
it doesn't 100%
I
make
couldn't
sense.
explain it to the people.
So the TPI, the tune port injection, fuel injection system, in order to put it on this 350, first of all, the actual TPI intake won't mount cleanly to our old Gen 1 350 small block. The heads aren't lined up for it. We have perimeter bolt heads or perimeter bolt valve cover style heads, and what the 305 is the center bolt style valve cover heads. The difference is where the bolts are for mounting that intake. Now, what you can do is sort of hog out the holes on the TPI intake, which I don't really want to do. It's an original TPI intake. I have no real interest in hogging that out and ruining it. But you could, technically. The other option is you can go out and get a different set of heads for the 350. Ones that will work on this. You could also technically take the heads off the 305 and put those onto the 350. But if you're doing that, then that gets you to the other bridge that you have to cross, which is that in order for the TPI and the computer to work, I need to have a cam and lifters in here or cam in here that would be readable by the computer. It's not necessarily controllable, but they call it controllable, but it doesn't control it, just reads it. Those cams are only roller cams. I don't have a roller cam in that 350 right now. I have a hydraulic flat tappet. So that means that I've got to get a whole new cam and lifter set up, a hydraulic one, for that 350 to make this work, and swap the heads over and get all this stuff moved over. By the time you get all of this stuff done and start swapping all this stuff over, more than likely we're into this for $1,500, $2,000 in additional costs to get this stuff over. Oh, and I forgot new fuel injectors too. You got to get higher rated fuel injectors to put in here.
You're going to just summarize that.
There's just so many things that you've got to do to get the TPI moved over onto that 350. I mean, I looked into it. I would have liked to have done it. I was intrigued. It's not the short path, and it's not the inexpensive path. So I think we're going to take a shine on that and not bother with it. We are going to try to get this to the shortest path to get this thing running and driving for him this summer. And then after that, who knows? So I don't know what we'll do long term with it. I would like to see this 350 last for a little while in here, get him through a year with the car. And then who knows, maybe we put an LS in it. I think that would be kind of a cool swap out. Or maybe we rebuild up that 305 and put the original 305 back in it with TPI, but all rebuilt. So that's an opportunity for us too. I don't know. So there's a few options out there that we can entertain. So I'm not saying what we do long term. We're open there, but short term, slapping TPI on this 350. I'm not saying you can't do it, or that other people can't do it, or that it can't be done, or it's impossible. It can be done. I know people are doing it. There was too much going on there for us to feel confident about it, so we're just going with a straight old-fashioned, naturally aspirated, carbureted 350 that we'll slap into the sucker, and we'll keep it that way for now. So
I also see some people be like, "You're cheap. You're being cheap." Well, you can send us the stuff if you want.
Yeah,
we're not stopping you.
That's the other thing. We're not actually being that cheap. By the time we'll have to do a tally on this when we get to the end, but it isn't going to be that cheap by the time we're at the end of this. We've already got a significant chunk soaked into the blueprint engine here, and by the time we get headers and exhaust into this thing and all the other parts and accoutrements into this, we're going to be up there, and that's not the finished end, right? So there is still a plan to either send out your block and have it redone, or potentially get a remanufactured block and bring it back in so that we can get your original motor back in the car at some point. So, so we're not done long term. We'll still get something done there, but it's not long term cheap. I guess it's maybe short term cheap, but that's mostly just because we want to get it up and run it and get it out there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait around forever. It's a running driver project. It's not a like ground up restoration project.
Yeah.
It's the intent is to get it running and driving for him. And in fairness, what we expected was to get a real piece of crap.
Yeah.
So the great and bad thing about this is that the car is way nicer than what we were expecting to get. I think if this thing had every single body panel on it was a different color and all dented in,
Yeah.
you know, and it was a rattle trap and it had, you know, steel wheels on it, then people would be like, oh, I get it, you know, it's a, you know, just get it running.
And something that still surprises me is like this was the first and only car that we like visited.
I know, it's kind of shocking. It's not what I was expecting, but you know, hey, it happens. Sometimes you get lucky. So, anywho, that's where we're at with this engine and why we're not doing TPI. So it's all just logistical reasons on our end. We don't have any sort of philosophical thing against it, but. All right, so enough of that. You guys know that we took all of the pistons out of the 305. I posted pictures at one point of the the first piston clock I made, which was the bent piston rod, the one that hydrolocked. That is currently sitting on my desk upstairs, and it's not going anywhere. I'm not giving that out. That's an expensive that's an expensive clock, but. We did have a bunch of others that we took out, and I've been cleaning them up and making clocks out of them, and we've got one right there. So that is out of the Camaro. And we decided we would like to be able to give one of these away to one of you viewers. One of you loyal fans who's been watching us, hopefully from the beginning.
Probably not.
Maybe not.
Maybe
But we
not
do
even
have a
see it.
bunch of you guys that have been watching us from the beginning, and we really do appreciate it. We love that you guys are tuning in and following along with the projects, and we really, really appreciate it. So we wanted to give one of these clocks away. So here's the deal. When this video posts, we're going to leave this post up for the week. All you need to do is like and comment on the video. If you like and comment on the video, we are going to pick one of those comments at random. Doesn't even have to be a special comment. You know, you can just post great video or
Say your favorite dinosaur.
yee yee or whatever you want. Tell us your favorite
Throwback.
dinosaur. Yeah, anything you want in that
Tell
comment.
him how old he is.
It all counts, but just post a comment and hopefully like the video. And we will pick one commenter at random from that list to win this. And then we will contact you in the comments to let you know that you won and give you an email address where you can reach us and send us your mailing information so that we can send this clock off to you. So we'll post more details about that in the description for the video so that you can follow along. But hopefully you guys will like and maybe even subscribe. And then
At this point, if
Post a
you're watching
comment.
the information video,
yeah, if you're watching this video, you really ought to subscribe. I mean, if you've made it all the way to this point,
this
you're
is like a rock bottom.
whether you want to admit it or not, you're a fan. You know.
I don't
just
even
admit
watch
it.
the info video.
Yeah, you're at the end. All right, guys, thanks again for watching us, for putting up with us on another one of these sort of boring videos. So Please like and subscribe. It does help us out a tremendous amount. The videos get seen by more people when more people like and subscribe and click and comment on the actual individual videos.
Things for the cars.
And then we can buy more stuff for the cars.
That's what they really need to hear.
That's true.
It goes straight to the cars.
The money from the videos goes straight into the car, but really at this point, straight into your car, not into my car.
No one
it's
cares
going
about
into yours.
this bum car.
So please like and subscribe. Please also check out the merch on the channel. We've got some pretty cool sweatshirts and hats and t-shirts.
Not
and
this
so,
one.
again, if you're interested in any of that stuff to clothe yourself with, those proceeds also go to buy more stuff for Declan's car. So, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate the heck out of you for sticking with us all of this time. And hopefully you're going to stick around with us through this spring and summer too, because the getting is going to get good. And soon we're going to be peeling out with both of these things. I expect and promise burnouts and donuts this summer. They will happen. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. And until we see you again, keep throwing wrenches.